James, it's lightning prediction time, as the beginning of this video said, but we have a couple pieces of news that have filtered through since we did our host chat segment, and we wanted to hit these
Yep.
now because they are relevant. First
Sure.
things first, regarding the league that we used to focus on mainly, and we still do to a certain degree. There's been some
hmm
news filtering in about University of Rochester, some not so good that ESPN covered today. We don't want to get into the specifics of that beyond saying it's a
Yeah.
continuation of the E60 story that occurred earlier in the year, and a lot of people know what that's all about. If you don't, I'm sure you can go Google it. We're not going to get into it right now. But
Yeah.
maybe connected, maybe not. We don't know. We hope not. We hope it's on his own volition at the end of the day. Head coach Scott Green announced that he will be leaving Rochester at the end of this year. I don't know if it's called retirement or what the exact wording is here, but he will be leaving, and it's a great loss to our former league insofar as former NFL player, a class act, a guy we liked talking
hmm
to every year to the degree we could. We haven't talked to him in a few years. He's actually offered up assistant coaches along the way the last couple of years when we would do
Yeah.
our coaches corner. But Green will be leaving. We have put together a request to get him on in later the season. Hopefully he will be able to during maybe their bye week or something like that. Dennis O'Donnell,
Yep.
sports information director, working on that for us. But what are your thoughts about Coach Green before we move on to the other news?
I think Coach Green's he's done a good job over the last what I think it's been close to 12 seasons that he's been the head coach over at Rochester. I mean, at the end of the day, we talk a lot about the different resources available and whatnot, and you can only do so much with what you're given. And Rochester is a top academic school. It's one of those things where I think they've had their moments and they've come close a few times here and there. I know early on in his coaching career, Rochester was right in the thick of things, although the last couple seasons not so much. But still a great program, a lot of great people over there, and wherever he ends up, I'm sure with someone with his background, NFL experience, head coaching experience at Division three or other level is going to be valued, and we certainly wish him well and hope that wherever he lands is a place that he wants to be. So we've enjoyed having him on the program in the past. It does say a lot about his leadership style that he's always he's been gracious to us and getting players and. But the fact that he actually puts his assistant coaches ahead says a lot about the kind of guy he is, and we'll miss him for sure, and we'll look forward to seeing where he lands.
First things first, they'll be playing against Union on homecoming weekend, so he announced it just before homecoming came up.
hmm
We'll see what happens. Obviously, Union would be favored in that game. Before that news, maybe it's enough to get his team to kind of light it up on the field a little bit and get a little bit of extra oomph as the Dutchmen come visiting. And the 1-0 in the league Dutchmen, so they are tied with the percentage lead at least right now. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll see if we are predicting that game or not. We'll see what Liberty League game comes up here. Then we have extra time. Maybe we'll take a look at that game later on. The
Okay.
other thing we want to talk about is a developing situation with respect to Albright. And a lot of people have seen the national coverage on this one throughout the week. And we want to bring to light a few things that we think have been missed and maybe explain it in a different format for folks watching this.
Yeah.
Long story short, Jairi Durante, I believe is the name of the backup quarterback from Albright, that decided to take a knee during the anthem. And this is not your garden variety take a knee scenario because his team had leadership council of 24 players, I believe it was, get together
hmm
before the game on Saturday, which was homecoming and Hall of Fame weekend for Albright. They were hosting
That's right.
that
Yeah.
weekend. And they decided they wanted to take a different approach at the whole unity behind the message of the kneeling and how it was being done, etc. And from what we understand, Albright's players checked with Durante multiple times throughout the week. At least this is what news coverage is suggesting, and we have no way of telling whether this is true or not right now, so we can only report on what's been reported. And he seemed to be going along with the decision to kneel at the coin toss. And you and I have both watched the video tonight. There was a full team kneeling in lock arm for the coin toss, except for the participants of the coin toss itself, the tri-captains that went out there. And then they came back, and the team stood up and put their arms into, we'll be showing some of this video coverage or clips here, as you can probably see right now on the screen, put their hands on each other's shoulder in front of them, or at least most of them did. I think a few of them may not have remembered to do it, or didn't do it for some reason during the national anthem itself. Now, one thing that is missing in a lot of the stories, actually two things let's go for here that are missing, is that first, I want people to understand that Albright, as far as Division III East Region programs goes, based on what you can see readily in the roster page, is one of the most diverse rosters I've seen in the East Region. And we keep track of this stuff just from, anecdotal approaches here. But, some of the New York teams can be a little too monochromatic in Division III, and New England teams as well. Albright is through and through a very diverse team. You can tell it from the roster. So the notion that some people are saying out there that this was not a, well-vetted idea by the team, or was, maybe led by, just the white players on the team or something like that, I don't see how it's possible, because to get 24 players on a leadership council like that, it had to be split differently. It had to have been. And so that's one thing to think about. But also, here's some footage we're going to show you that sort of makes me realize what they were trying to do. And we don't know from, not having players to talk to yet. We thought we would have a player to talk to today, but some things have developed apparently in the last 24 hours that have changed the school's position, or at least the player's position, about talking to us. We hope they change their mind on that. We are wide open to have them on if and when they can talk to us. But if you notice here, when they arrive on the field, they do it with a large American flag. I think you had pointed out, it was almost like in a Cape style, the way they were doing it. But they were
it was like Living in America, James Brown and Rocky IV.
True.
I'm dating myself. Right.
Hey, and I knew what your reference was, so hey, I'm no better here. But the point is that they went out of their way to have an American flag on them when they came out. And that seems to be missing here. And what you read into all of this is the following, I believe. A lot of people are arguing whether or not the kneeling during the anthem has anything to do with the anthem or the flag or not. And there are viable arguments on both sides of this question. We're not going to decide that here. That's not what we're about.
No, that's not our job, no.
I believe the players in this situation that made this decision wanted to show the school or whoever else was watching that the anthem and the flag are indeed not inextricably linked to the kneeling, that the message behind the kneeling could exist without the anthem attached to it, and that the entire team was willing to show that fact if we got it away from the anthem. And on top of that, they wanted to show a certain respect and honor to the flag by coming out with it as well. So what Durante did, I think, in the players' minds by sort of going and kneeling during the anthem was sort of undermine the message that they worked hard to achieve. Now, here's where we are completely lacking information on this story.
Right.
What happened next? Okay? Here's what we can tell you. Durante was the number one go-to backup quarterback in garbage time against Misericordia early in the season for Albright. He was the backup that had the most reps afterwards, so most likely the second stringer per se.
Yeah, and we should add that Alec Vignola, who's one of the senior co-captains of the team, is a senior. He's played obviously for a while, so when you have a senior quarterback co-captain, chances are there's going to be a freshman, sophomore backing him up, and that's kind of the case we had here.
Now, we noticed that the third string quarterback from Misericordia became the second string quarterback, at least in the play-by-play in the box score for the game against Delaware Valley, which was kind of a garbage time scenario, ultimately because they were on the losing side of a lopsided affair against Del Val. We don't know if Durante stayed on the sideline, if he was informed at some point because of what he did, the repercussion was they weren't going to play him on Saturday, and whether or not maybe he left because of that. We don't know if he stayed on the sideline. It's tough to tell. Yeah. And my question ultimately becomes this. Look, if the team just dismissed him in a knee-jerk reaction, I think it was an overreaction. I think they could have made this into a teaching moment across the board because they started so well, I think, on this. I actually applaud what they were trying to do, what I read into what they were trying to do, okay? And in front of a very important crowd for that school. Knee-jerk reaction, I don't agree with. If there was something subsequent that occurred that led to the team to say, look, your conduct is now detrimental to the team. We do not endorse this. Please leave the team. Going beyond just the kneeling of the anthem, then I like to hear that story, and I think they deserve to be heard so that folks can stop persecuting and prosecuting here to the degree they are with this team, and let them, live with their decision ultimately, which would be a team decision. There is too much unknown here, but what we see is questions across the board, and I've seen some commentaries that I'm a little disappointed with tonight that seem to be very accusatory without knowledge. And I understand we are not getting the answers we want on this, but I would ask people out there to understand this is a group that thought out what they were doing in the first place. Let's hope that they thought out what they did subsequently as well to be consistent here. If they didn't, then you know what? It's on them. They should probably face a little music for what they did to Durante. But if there was more, then I would honestly say, look, guys, let's move on at this point. Like they were trying to do themselves. They've got Stevenson coming up in the not too distant future. That's a big game for them. Let them go focus on football once and for all. What are your thoughts beyond what I just brought up?
Well, in the grand scheme of things, even though Albright lost badly to Del Val, they're still 5-1, and theoretically, if they win out, they could be a potential Pool C team for the NCAA's. At the very least, they're probably the number one pick, you could say, for the kind of the MAC Centennial Bowls that have been started in the last couple of years. So Albright still has a lot of football to do, to play, and there's a lot of stuff going on. The Stevenson game on the 21st is a big game for them. They did not win that game last season. Stevenson struggled a little bit. It looks like that Albright could even be a favorite in that one. And they have a schedule that maps out that they could very well go 9-1 and maybe be one of those teams on the bubble for the NCAA tournament, or at the very least they could end up hosting a bowl game in front of their home crowd come November. So a lot to play for the Lions, and hopefully this doesn't turn to be a bigger distraction. And we certainly have been reaching out and trying to coordinate with the college relations, sports information people at Albright to try to get the perspective that you mentioned earlier, either from a student player like one of the captains of the team or what have you, to get their point of view, because there are some little holes in the story, and with all the kind of the current, I'll just say energy, good or bad, depending on how you look at it, with respect to some of the protests and what it means. It's a relevant topic, and it's not surprising that these 18 to 22-year-old kids would latch onto that, and so it could be just a case of a disgruntled teammate who things aren't going well for him, and so isn't acting out. Maybe it was a miscommunication. Maybe who knows? But this is a story that has lots of different layers to the onion, so to speak, and we just want to figure out what happened.
One thing you bring up, Durante is, I think, one of only 7 players that is not from, let's say, the general region where Albright is located.
Yeah, he's from down here in Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, all the players that we spotted on the roster, maybe we missed one or two, but outsider players in terms of regionally or geographically are all Florida-based individuals, which is interesting. They obviously appreciate the football country that Florida is, but we've seen cases where Florida players did not transition well into northern schools in our coverage of the Liberty League over the years. And so it's interesting to kind of consider what the many possibilities are here. Again, too many open questions to start prosecuting and persecuting, but that didn't stop the media from doing it nationally over the last week. Let's hope that we can hear from the players themselves what the story is. Hopefully this does not go into some kind of protracted legal scenario. It's the last thing anybody wants to see, and hopefully there is a good resolution for everybody here and some good teaching moments for everybody involved. With that all said, there's 6 minutes on the clock right there. And that means that we are going
6 minutes. Shouldn't we get 9 because we've got 9 games to do, or are we just gonna okay?
This is called lightning predictions. Lightning. Got it? Okay, so
okay, got it.
You name the game. If you want to go first, you go first. But we've got the games ready to go here. When you name the first one, the clock starts, and we'll get a little music to go with it. It'll be beautiful. Trust me.
All right. Well, we talked about this in the host chat episode a couple days ago. The CCC is finally kicking off here in Week 7, conference play. Endicott versus Western New England. For Coach Chawal and company, this is a big opportunity. Western New England wants to reestablish their path back to the NCAA playoffs. I think, you know what? I may pick an upset in this one, Frank. I know Endicott struggled a little bit, and the Bears are playing well, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, come on. Give me a score first if you're going to go that far.
21-17. I'll pick the Gulls in an upset.
I think Western New England's gotten so weathered from the season so far that they're going to take this game. Oh, wait a minute. Our clock hasn't started. Oh, no. What is this?
Convenient.
Yeah, I know it. Hold on. There it goes. As we were saying, I think that they're weathered this season, and in a way that I believe that they're going to be able to win this game against Endicott, who's had an up and down season with a lot of downs at times here. Western New England wins this game 31-14, I believe. Up next, I think maybe the Empire 8?
Yeah, one of the games of the week, if you follow the D3 Hero website, but Alfred versus Cortland State, we talked about this also. Alfred's still undefeated. Cortland went toe-to-toe for basically 3.5 quarters with Brockport, and the Red Dragons, a lot of offense. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of defense in this game, but I'll take the Saxons in a high-scoring, maybe 35-27 game.
35-27. I'm taking Cortland here. I think what they did to Brockport shows that at home they're going to be able to handle an Alfred team. That's a great stadium for home field advantage Cortland has. So I'm going to give them the nod here. 28-24 in a semi-classic. ECFC.
All right. Another one we talked about. Can Castleton knock off the Golden Eagles? I like teams from Vermont, but I think in this case I'm going to go with John Smith and company, so I'll take Husson to win this one 38-20.
It's homecoming for Husson, if I remember correctly, and I think that bodes well for them. And John Smith, as you said, who had a 40-yard touchdown kind of in garbage time last weekend at the very end of the game to really seal the deal in that game. But Husson's defense had a lot to do with that big win last week, and so I think they're getting themselves together as a total package, and they kind of want to take it to the NCAA and say, hey, remember us, that 500-mile rule problem and everything, as we pointed out in the host chat earlier in the week? I think they enjoy playing that role right now, to be honest with you.
We're back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Husson wins this game. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, though. It's going to be 41-34 Husson. Up next, Liberty League action.
Yeah, hey, welcome Buffalo State officially. That came out today, which we kind of knew about. We reported it 8 months ago. But the game of the week is definitely Ithaca versus RPI. The Engineers struggled at Hobart. Ithaca is 3-0 so far in the league. And as much as I want to pick the Engineers because I'm a Hobart guy, I think probably the Bombers are going to win this one in a low-scoring kind of 24-17 slugfest.
The one thing Coach Isernia is really good at is spurring on his team after a bad loss. And I think this is going to be a case at home for RPI where they're able to bounce back and create perhaps that three-way tie scenario for the Hobart fans of the world. That guy. Anyway, I guess we have the pick here. RPI wins this game at home 30-27. Another good close game. Got to move a little faster here. Yep. MAC action.
Widener versus Lyco. We said that Widener would be the team that potentially give Del Valle a good run, so I'll take the Pride in a defensive battle, say 21-17.
Yeah, I agree with you there. For the same reasons, I think that they're starting to get their laser focus in here, but at the same time, they're not going to look too far ahead to Del Valle. That's way in the future at week 11. So Widener wins this game and starts to get themselves together, 35-20. Okay, so we've done the MAC. How about the MASCAC?
Hart says Plymouth State since we had the family connection, but I think Framingham is the team here. It's probably going to end up being the Rams by a 31-21 score.
Yeah, again, Framingham State has just been strong, and Plymouth State has been a little up and down, but a gritty team. I got to give it to them. I didn't think they'd be at this point in this juncture of the season. So Framingham State wins this game, though, I believe. Ron Wright and company, let's say 30-21. New MAC time. Oh, hey, triple option time.
Yeah, the Triple Option Bowl. Merchant Marine hosting Springfield. I think I'm going to go with the Mariners in this one. They've won the last two. It's been close calls for Coach Toop and company when they played the Pride. And I, now that the Pride is 6-0 in the top 25, this feels like one of those potential upset moments where they're like, hey, we got this made, but there's a lot of pressure on them. They can't afford to lose this game.
1 minute.
You go either way, but I'll take 45-42 Mariners.
Oh, that's funny because I was going to say 50-47 Springfield using the reverse jinx. And Jack.
Wesley's going to take care of the Cougars probably 49-14.
Yeah, I don't see Kane showing much of a pulse in this game. I hate to say it. I think Wesley's got this one through and through. They will win 50-20. And finally, the NESCAC, Trinity Tufts. I think I predicted this early in the week.
Yeah, the Jumbos they're there, but not quite. I think Hartford State is going to come away with the win here. They've got the better overall, I think, defense. And so I'll take the Bantams of Trinity to win this one 35-20.
Trinity wins 32-14. Give me a Rochester Union score real quick.
31-14 Union.
I like that. I'll go with you there. Time's up. So, JB, that was right under the wire. We've got this down. We finally got Lightning.
It only took us 10 seasons, Frank, to get Lightning predictions under 25 minutes.
We're covering 9 conferences. We somehow are getting faster about it. I don't know what this is about us right now. No. But anyway, folks, if you have any thoughts on the Albright situation, please leave it in the comments. It'd be good to hear from folks on both sides of this issue. We're trying, again, not to say anything in terms of judgmental on anybody. We just want to bring the facts out fully because we feel that there's been some injustice done with respect to doing that. We did reach out. Also, we should state, too, Jerry Durante, I think early in the week, and did not receive a response. If anybody wants to talk, we're here on video, or even if you just want an audio feed of yourself, we are here to do it and bring your story out to the public. So please join us, reach out to us, and we will figure out a way to do it. Until the weekend, we hope to have some early content up this weekend after we get some finals up there. And James, we will see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good, Frank. Thank you.